just want to remind you that I'm just like you. I'm an old redneck, fighter pilot, loves his country, loves his God, and believes in being able to do whatever you want to do with your life. I grew up right here. I was born in Brookville, in a doctor's office. My home was about a half a mile back over the hill here. It used to be Mapleville Farms. I went to school in this little building right on the corner up there. It's now a dentist's office, I think, for the first 8 years of my school. So it's a little bit different to see this beautiful school building that you have here compared to that little old building we had there. We, of course, didn't have electricity. We didn't have water. We had a loud house out in the back that we used. Just think about that. When you look at this beautiful campus that you have here, it is an awesome place. It's so impressive for me to see it. A lot of Hardings have gone through this school. I had a brother, two brothers that went through, and my older sister went through. We started off there on the farm, and what I want to try to get across to you today is you can do whatever you want to do. You don't think so right now, maybe, but I want you to understand that there is nothing you can't accomplish if you put your mind to it. You're going to need help along the way, and that's why this school is such a great place for you to get started. There are other schools that I'm sure some of you are going to go to. But I want you to think about a few things when we start thinking about school, and that is, what do you really want to do in life? What's your goal that you want to do? And you probably don't know right now for sure what that is. And you have a lot of people that are essentially helping you to make those decisions. So I would suggest to you that you listen to those people, because you never know what's going to happen. I never thought that I would be flying an airplane. I didn't even know what an airplane looked like up close. I had seen pictures of airplanes, but the first time I really saw an airplane when I was my junior year in college at Penn State. We took a summer leadership training course, and I saw an airplane, got to fly in an airplane. We'd never seen one here in Brookville. As you know, we don't have a lot of aircraft in the Brookville area. So don't think that your life is going to be what it is right now, because you don't know what's going to change in the near future. Who would have thought that 6 or 7 months ago we'd all be walking around with masks on? If you'd have been doing that 6 or 7 months ago, you'd probably been arrested for trying to hold up a bank or something. So you don't know what's going to happen in your life. That's why I think it's important for you to prepare yourself as much as you can. Look not only to the future, but look at what you're going to be doing in the present time. I mentioned the fact that we lived in this little old schoolhouse right back here. We had all 8 grades in one room. We all learned at the same time. You think about that. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in one room with one teacher. Nobody else. We didn't have any coaches. We didn't have anything like that. When we had recess, we had recess twice a day. We would go out and play something or other. Tag, prisoner's base. We played some baseball. A little bit different than the baseball you have. We had old broken bats that we fixed. We had baseballs that we taped up. And if we couldn't reach somebody to tag them, we just threw the ball at them. If we hit them, they were out. So it's a bit different than you play baseball today. But one of the things that I have noticed throughout my life is that what you do at this stage of your life has a lot to do with what you're going to be able to do later on in life. And one of the first things I would say that you need to learn is integrity. It's a big word, but it actually means something to you. It means a lot of things to different people, but it's something that you can live with the rest of your life. Because we have a lot of people who don't have integrity right now. I taught high school for a long time, 14 years in different schools throughout the world, including Germany and Italy. And one of the things I made my cadets learn and follow was I will not lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate those who do. Wouldn't it be wonderful if everybody that we knew in our lives lived with that same rule? I will not lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate those who do. It's a shame that we have so many people who are willing to say whatever gets them what they want. But that is one thing I think that you can take with you the rest of your life. When we talk about what you do in your life, one of the things that you should be able to remember always is that you have to be accountable for what you do. I know you're held accountable here at the school. I was as well. Matter of fact, my aunt was my teacher for 4 years. And since our home was only about 600 yards from the school, even though we didn't have telephones in those days, didn't have electricity, somehow or another, if I did something wrong in school, and there were very few days that I didn't do something wrong, my dad would know about it before I got home. And I know I saw a paddle in the principal's office in here. There was one in Dad's office too, which was everywhere on the farm. Often we would go out to the orchard and say, cut yourself a limb off the tree. We had an apple orchard. If I cut the switch too small, he said, that's not big enough. He'd cut it bigger. If I cut it too big, no, that'll hurt you. I don't want to do that. But that was how I learned to listen to what was being told. This is something that you have to do now in order to be able to do what you want to do later on in life. The biggest thing that I feel that is the most difficult thing to learn is humility. Humility means that you understand that you are not always as good as you think you are. We have a lot of people throughout the world, especially a lot of people in government, in Hollywood, in sports, that don't have very much in the way of humility. When you see somebody in an NFL jumping up and down and carrying on in the end zone after they've scored a touchdown, what that person has forgotten is that there's 10 other people that helped him get there in that end zone. There's 10 other people that are on the field with him. Plus, all of those coaches, trainers, everything else that are out there helping him do what he needs to do. So when you think about that, remember that there are more people than just you out there, and you need to understand that those people mean just as much as you do. The one thing that I've always said is that whatever I've been able to accomplish in my life, I owe it to one person, and that's God Almighty. I wouldn't be able to do anything that I do, and I've been able to do what I've been able to do because He has enabled me to do that. He has worked through me to get things that I've gotten done accomplished. And that makes me feel very, very humble. Because if He picks on one little person with all the millions and billions of people throughout the world to help, it must be pretty special to have something like that for you. When you think about the things that you can accomplish and you can't accomplish, if you saw in the video there, we had a certain group of people who did the rescues. But that was the tip of the iceberg. Because every time we did a rescue, there were over 800 sorties flown in that rescue. Each sortie is an aircraft taking off and landing. So 800 pilots participated in that rescue to rescue one person. You say, well, why do you do that? Well, because life is so precious. It's a gift from God. We would do anything we could to find and rescue somebody that was shot down. And you know what? It's like that in our lives as well. How many people help you get done what you want to get done? Whether it's your parents, whether it's your teachers, whether it's your somebody that you know that's going to later on hire you to do a job. You cannot imagine how many people are working for you all the time, trying to help you accomplish what you want to accomplish. And you have to be able to stick it out. You have to have what I call tenacity. You can't give up. Never give up. Just like in that rescue, we continued day after day to try to find a way to get in and rescue Clyde Smith. We had a lot of different people do different things to do that. Your lives are the same way. There are a lot of people helping you all the time to accomplish what you're going to accomplish. So if you think you're by yourself, you're not. There are a lot of folks not only helping you, but cheering you on. And always in the back of your mind, you have to remember that God is up there. When we rescued another guy later on after that, he'd gotten shot down way over North Vietnam. I'm sure a lot of you maybe don't understand where Vietnam is. It's way over there on the other side of the world, essentially. And it's a communist country. And they're not very nice. I have a lot of friends who were captured, who were prisoners of war. And if you ever want to realize how difficult your life is, talk to one of those POWs. One of the ones I knew was in there for over 7 years, 7.5 years. Most of the time he was in a little cell about about 6 feet, about 8 feet. That's not very big. With a little cement slab in one corner and a bucket under a hole in the wall that's where your food came in, that's where your waste went out. They would be in there for a year or so at a time in that one little room, not talking to anybody, not able to talk to anybody. Many of them had been wounded when they got shot down. Many of them had been tortured so badly that their bodies were pushed out of shape. Those people believed in the United States of America so much that they were able to put up with all that torture, all that being by themselves, knowing that the United States of America was not going to leave them behind. They were going to get them out of there if they could. A lot of them died in captivity. We had thousands of them in captivity, not only in Vietnam, but also in other places. Korea, Russia, and China. We still don't have them all back. We still know that there are others out there. We don't know whether they're alive or not, but we know they've been captured and they're out there. So when you think about how difficult it is for us to find them, think about somebody who got shot down right in the middle of the enemy territory in North Vietnam. When I say North Vietnam, Vietnam was divided into two parts. The northern part was communist, the southern part was essentially free. We were supporting the southern part because the northern part was trying to overtake, to capture all of the people in South Vietnam. And today, because we pulled out before we finished the job, it's all one country. It's all one communist country. I don't know how much you know about communism, maybe not very much yet, but I guarantee you, you do not want to live in a communist country. We have a lot of communists in our own country right now today, and it's very sad that we allow them to be in government offices because they do not want free and independent people. So Roger Locker was shot down. He was on the ground. He's in a F-105, and the front seater had determined way ahead of time that he was never going to be captured. So rather than eject out of the aircraft, he stayed in the aircraft into the ground, and his back seater ejected. He was right across a valley from the busiest airfield in North Vietnam where the enemy aircraft were flying from. When he got shot down, he says, okay, he was a navigator, so he knew where he was, he knew where he had to go to get rescued. And it was probably about 150 miles he was going to have to walk in order to get rescued. So he started walking. It wasn't very long till he realized he would run into a village with North Vietnamese in it. He'd have to stop and try another route, try it another way. To make a long story short, he stayed on the ground for 23 days in the middle of enemy territory, all by himself, surviving by licking the moisture off of the plants in the morning. The villagers had little gardens up there. He would pull certain things out of the garden to eat, making sure he had to put the dirt back just like it was so they wouldn't know that there was somebody there. At one point, he was laying there as they were bringing the cows up to graze for the day, and one of the cows laid down on a little tree, went across his leg. He couldn't move. He couldn't get away. He was concerned that the children were going to come to get the cow, and they would see him and it'd be reported. He was very fortunate that the cow finally got up and he could move out of the way again. 23 days after he was shot down, we were able to get all the way up there to rescue him. That is what I call tenacity. The last thing I'd like to talk about is what we call love. And, you get all sorts of visions when you think of love. You think about, your favorite boyfriend or girlfriend, or maybe your parents, or maybe a good uncle or something like that. But love is a whole lot deeper than that as far as I'm concerned. It essentially heals all wounds. Because if you love somebody else, you're not going to think about yourself so much. You're going to be thinking about other people and what they need and what they require. The saying goes that man does not get his greatest happiness from what he does for himself, but what he does for someone else, for others. The most precious crown of fame that a human being can ask is to kneel at the bar of God and hear the beautiful words, "Well done, good and faithful servant." That was Schuler Colfax, the vice president under United States grant, U.S. grant. We should be thanking God for everything, but we don't need to ask God for everything. Because there's so many things that we can do for ourselves. We don't need somebody else to help us out. And we should be glad that God doesn't give us everything we ask for. Because a lot of times you ask for $1 million or something like that, and you end up being more sad after you have it than you were before you had it. You know what? Being kind is more important than being right sometimes. How many times have you seen people do something for somebody else and it actually made them feel better than it did the person that they gave it to? If you help someone else, it makes you feel good inside. It's something that you can't measure, but it does make you feel good. I know when I was playing football, we had a running back named Lenny Moore who was just fantastic, All-American and All-Pro. When you would block for that guy and he'd break away and make a touchdown, first thing he did is come back and say, "Thanks, great block." That's what I mean by being ready to give yourself for somebody else. When you plan to get even with somebody, you know what? You're going to probably end up getting hurt more yourself than you did getting them. Just think about that. Say, well, so-and-so did something. Lucy took my boyfriend, so I'm going to get her. Well, in the long run, that's not going to help you. It's going to make you feel bad because in the long run, you maybe lost a friend. We see people today doing that all the time. We see them cutting each other down. it makes me feel bad just seeing them do that. I just don't understand why they want to do that. But it's what happens today. You know, smile is probably the least expensive way you can improve your looks. You can have a pretty normal looking face, but when you're smiling, it looks a lot better. So think about that. Instead of frowning at people, think about smiling at people. I would always say that a smile will disarm a lot of people. You know, you can always pray for somebody when you can't help them any other way. And there are a lot of people in this world to be prayed for. I'd like to, if anybody's got a question, just raise your hand, because what I've talked about, and especially this video that you watched, it's kind of a strange thing for someone like you to see, because you probably, a lot like me, haven't seen a lot of airplanes. Those are kind of ancient aircraft. You got to remember that was a long time ago. Most of the guys that flew in those days are pretty much gone now. I don't have a lot of my old mates that I flew with that are still here today. But you know, the memory lives on. The memory is always going to be there, and that's what you need to think about with your lives, is that you're going to always have the memories of what you do here in school, as well as what you do when you leave school. The next place I went after Brookville High School was to go to Penn State to go to college. I don't know how y'all feel about Penn State, but I think they did a great job of taking an old farm boy and making a gentleman out of it. Because if you're going to be in the military, you have to be a gentleman. You have to be able to not only do what you're supposed to do, what you're trained to do, but you have to do a lot of other things. But then, you know, you can't do that forever, because they won't leave you in the military. Eventually, you're going to have to find something else to do. And that's when I started teaching. Teaching, to me, was a way to kind of give back to society what society had given to me. A little bit different teacher than what you're facing here today, because what I taught was high school ROTC. I don't know whether you've even heard of high school ROTC, but it's a program for high schoolers to essentially learn discipline and learn a little bit about whatever branch of service is teaching. We have it for the Army, we have it for the Navy and the Marines, and we have it for the Air Force. I don't know whether we're going to eventually have a Space Force ROTC or not, but the point that I want to make with that is that it gave us a chance to not only learn more about the students that we were teaching, but also let the students learn a little bit of discipline. What's discipline? Discipline is being able to accomplish what you want to accomplish because you're able to take care of yourselves, to make yourself do what you want to do, and no matter what you're going to do in life, you're going to have that discipline. If you're going to be in sports, the discipline is the training regimen, what you have to do in order to get your body ready to do what your mind thinks it can do. And training your mind to be able to get your body in position to do what it needs to do. It doesn't make any difference what the sport is, whether it's cross country, whether it is basketball, whether it is football, soccer, wrestling, any of these sports, it's a mental thing more than it is a physical thing. Your body has to be there, but your mind has to be there as well. So has anybody got a question you'd like to ask? Anything that you think of you'd like to ask? Don't be bashful. You look just like I did when I was in high school. You're afraid to speak up because you're afraid somebody was going to say, what are you talking about? Well, I'd like to close in with a couple of thoughts for you. When you graduate from high school, you're going to have to make a choice. I know it's another year away, but you're still going to have to make a choice. You're going to have to decide, okay, what do I want to do? And then you're going to have to get yourself trained in order to do that. The best training that you can have is to find somebody who's doing what you want to do and then follow them around until you learn how to do what they're doing. The best job you can have is one that you like to do. It's not necessarily one that's going to make you the most money, because money is not going to help you if you're not happy. The best job you can have is the one that you enjoy doing. If you don't enjoy your job, it's going to be drudgery. You're going to be making excuses not to go to work. You're going to make excuses to get home, go home early, or whatever. But if you enjoy what you're doing, if you enjoy being whatever you is, it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't have to be a high-paid doctor or lawyer or something like that. It can be somebody that just fixes things. It can be a plumber. It can be an electrician. It can be a carpenter. It can be a farmer. It can be anything. It's just something that you want to do more than you want to do anything else. And if you think about the fact that you're doing what you want to do, then it's not work anymore. If you want to really succeed, you look at what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and do it the best that you can. You learn everything about it. You're going to be able to understand better what it means to earn a living. You're probably going to have dependents of some sort, and it may be anything. It could be a husband or wife. It could be someone that's dependent on you because they are not able to take care of themselves. All of these things, but the thing that you want to remember in the long run is, if it is work that you enjoy, if it's something that you like to do, then it really isn't working. But if it's something that you're doing because, okay, I've got to have a job, I need to earn money, well, then that's going to make it more and more difficult for you to do it right. You're going to make more and more excuses why you don't want to do it all the time. So when I'm saying find something that you want to do, whatever it is, and then do it the best that you can. Learn everything you can about it, and I think you'll be so much more satisfied with it. I'll leave you with one last thought. This time in your lives is probably the best time that you ever had. You have the least responsibility and the most opportunity to just have a good time. Don't waste it. Remember that once you graduate from high school, you're now on your road to becoming an adult. And adulthood is not easy. It doesn't give you very much time to do other things. So that's why I say find something you like to do and do it the best that you can. Thank you very much. Enjoyed talking to you.